So some tips when you're making your website, in order to improve your SEO is one, do not cloak. I mentioned that earlier. You don't want to try and deceive the search engine into finding your site. You want to put it right out there inside for the user. So for example, when we do images, these are right here, and we have the alt, right? It's not something that the user necessarily sees, but you could load up a bunch of alts that don't even describe what the picture is. But you'd be like, oh, dog, beagle, lab. But you just put a whole bunch of things inside of that where the user won't see it, but the search engine will, right? And it's getting to the point now where these search engines, because of AI and what have you, are so good at deciphering these things, they'll actually punish you for it. So make sure you do not do that. So any keywords that you think you need to utilize, they should be out on the web page themselves, okay? Make sure that the page is linked together logically. What that means is that, do I mention it later? Yeah, because that's about forms here. Basically, if your pages aren't linked to each other properly, and you don't have a hierarchy that makes sense, where you have a home page and you have sub pages and things like that, the crawlers may not be able to crawl from one page to another. Like you'll just have a page that floats out there that you have to know the specific web address of, as opposed to being able to to get to there from a hyperlink. So you want to make sure everything works that way. Make sure you do use the proper title and alt for your elements. There's lots of reasons to do that beyond that. If you have dynamic content, it's generally a good idea to not put to put keywords in it. So for example, one thing that you might do is like maybe you have an animated banner on the top that has like, dogs, 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 right? I don't know, I'm on dogs today, but it says dog, dog, dogs, right? And it's like animated and it's moving around. It's not going to be able to see that. Okay. Or like say your title is a picture, like you're like, oh, they didn't have the typeface I wanted, so I just made an image of my typeface and I put up on the top. It may not be able to see that properly in order to index it. So a lot of times whenever you have that kind of rich media or dynamic content, it may not be able to see it. Although again, with AI now, it's a little bit better. So believe it or not, actually keeping your content updated is a big win. That will actually improve SEO. So you want to make sure you're constantly doing that. It's another reason why to do blogs. You could include a blog as part of the website, so that way the website itself is always being updated. So that's a popular thing. Obviously, use the keywords that you think you should. You can also use iteration, meaning you make your site, then test it. Go into the search engine, type in what you think that you want people to type in to go to your site. See where it pops up. If you don't like it, then try to change some things and test again. Try not to use forms. Basically, if the only way to get into something is they have to type in, or like the CAPTCHAs or whatever, where it's like a picture and it goes point to all the cars. That sort of stuff is there to keep the search engines from penetrating. So if that's the way to get in, you're not going to be as high in the SEO because the forms are going to keep them out. Just be aware that a CMS can sometimes not be good for SEO, just because it uses a lot of templates and duplicate pages, which I know I just had you do earlier. But all of the class names and things are all very generic. So you just have to make sure that you're compensating for it. Obviously, make sure your spelling is correct. If you spell dog, doge, you're going to get something different, right? Prominence of words. Basically, if something is an H1, if you have a keyword in an H1, it's going to think that that's more important than if it's just a regular paragraph, right? So the more important the text, the higher up the chain it is, the more it's going to take that into account. And I think I mentioned this earlier. Don't try to stuff your keywords, okay? So some things you can do. These are just extra little ding dongs. You can send your site to this validator, and it will actually try to see if there's any errors in the HTML. And there's this one here for CSS. If for some reason you're running into issues. Now, when you create your site, you can submit your website to the search engines here. And basically that will tell them, hey, go ahead and index my site so that you can put it as part of the SEO results. But you don't need to. I've never done it, and eventually the search engine will discover your site. So it's not required, but if you're trying to get the ball rolling a little bit faster, and especially obviously if you're trying to do the iteration here and you're like, you might want to put that in there just to so that you can start working on improving it.